Doctor, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Queremos que nos cuente, que nos explique primero qué es el síndrome posaborto. ¿Qué pasa con una mujer después de abortar?
Post-abortion syndrome is a constellation of mental health problems that I introduced in 1981 before our U.S. Congress. Over the years, many women have taught me that I've treated, in addition to women that I've done research with. They have taught me how they have experienced abortion in a traumatic way. So post-abortion trauma is basically a post-traumatic stress disorder. And the symptoms of that include intrusion and re-experience, avoidance and denial, changes in mood and beliefs, and states of hyperarousal, all of which were not present before the abortion and were present afterwards. Post-abortion syndrome is an umbrella concept that embraces these psychological after effects.
¿Cómo comenzó usted a investigar? ¿Qué lo llevó a empezar una investigación con respecto a este tema?
In 1975, I was treating men, combat veterans from Vietnam, and I saw symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder in these individuals and treated that. No one at that time had compared post-traumatic stress symptoms with the experience of women and men who've had an abortion. As I listened to the stories of women suffering from depression and anxiety and other symptoms, I recognized there was a similarity between these two. And that made me think, perhaps I need to be exploring and screening for the criteria for post-traumatic stress, which I did, and then I began lecturing and talking about it.
¿Qué tan común es el suicidio entre mujeres que se sometieron a un aborto?
Studies variously indicate that the risk women experience for suicide after an abortion is anywhere from 2 to 6 times greater, depending upon the study. The best studies have come from Finland and Denmark, where all the health data of a woman is in a national registry. And thus, the integrity of that data is complete, and it is very credible and reliable.
Hay una expresión que usted suele usar que es: las mujeres que abortaron son personas que están desconectadas de la vida, y parece una expresión muy significativa.
One of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress is avoidance and denial. And one of the symptoms of grief, unacknowledged or unresolved grief, is disconnecting from one's feelings and feeling numb. So these two phenomena merge and protect a woman from feeling overwhelmed by intrusive re-experiencing type symptoms.
Hay riesgo, es de suponer que hay riesgo también de otro tipo de comportamientos, de trastornos o incluso de adicciones entre las mujeres que tuvieron un aborto.
Well, there are increased risks for mental disorders, period, after an abortion. These include depression, anxiety, substance use and abuse, alcohol use, and suicidal ideation and behavior. In various studies, these have been reliably identified as increased risks following abortion compared to women who have not had abortions.
De acuerdo a las pacientes, una enorme cantidad de pacientes que usted ha tratado, ¿qué es lo que lleva a una mujer o cuál es el factor más común que lleva a una mujer a abortar?
Many women who elect abortion do so in a rush, in out of fear, out of feeling that there are no other good choices. It's a pressure environment, and I think one of the best predictors is isolation and lack of support. That is why women commonly choose abortion. It is as if society says, this is the best we can offer you with an unwanted or unintended pregnancy. And instead of providing alternatives and looking at adoption, for example, or supports for her if she's going to be a single mother, rather than go to lengths to help a woman's possible alternatives, society has all too often provided a cheap abortion. And in our country, in the United States, abortions aren't cheap, but they're often paid for by health insurance, with the average cost of an abortion being about $600. But nevertheless, abortion is an attempt to erase out the reproductive history of a unintended pregnancy.
Y eso no es posible. It's not possible.
But it is not possible. It is woven deep into the heart and history, the reproductive history of that woman. And abortion likely brings in more problems than the woman had prior to the unwanted pregnancy.
Hay una responsabilidad evidentemente de los hombres, una responsabilidad masculina. ¿Qué pasa con los hombres que presionan a una mujer para que se someta a un aborto? ¿También ellos padecen del síndrome post-aborto?
Men, first of all, the research on men and abortion is very limited. So we have descriptive studies, not explanatory ones. And there have only been 53 studies on abortion in men since abortion was legalized. So the reactions that men have after an abortion, some feel relieved, most feel a sense of helplessness and victimization. Many feel angry because by law they are not allowed to be part of the decision, and some are not even told about the abortion. I think one of the tragedies of abortion is that it is dumped on women and it is their choice, but in the aftermath of abortion, men are chronically not there and don't participate in the resolution of her emotional suffering. I think that compounds the pain and suffering that a woman goes through. And I should add that many abortions take place to prevent the demise of a relationship, an intimate relationship. And research shows that most relationships fail after an abortion.
¿Cómo puede una mujer y un hombre recuperarse después de un aborto? ¿Es eso posible? ¿Hay una terapia específica?
Well, first off, let me say that not all women and men who have experienced an abortion will have negative mental health problems afterwards. Some do. And we don't know the exact numbers because these kinds of studies are not funded because they're politically incorrect. However, for those that do suffer, most do not seek help. And I think as a society, we want to encourage women and men to not fear disclosure and to seek help, to talk about it with friends, with family, with ministers or priests, as well as therapists. The opportunity to heal from an abortion is possible, but it does require some grief work, and it does require acknowledging what an abortion is and did, both to the unborn child and to the relationship.
Y supone el arrepentimiento.
Many men feel regret after an abortion, as well as women, but that is not common immediately after the abortion. It is usually over time that regret commences, because the immediate after effects of abortion a relief because the crisis has subsided. But as we identified in a 1992 journal article on post-abortion trauma, abortion is both a stress reliever and a stress inducer. It is simplistic to think that abortion only causes relief. It is realistic that abortion relieves the stress of a pregnancy, an unintended pregnancy, and includes new problems, new dimensions of mental health issues after an abortion.
Ujú. Decía usted que esta experiencia afecta no a todas las mujeres de la misma manera, que no todas las mujeres tienen este síndrome.
It does not. Some women and men will not feel any regret or remorse or psychological pain from an abortion. My experience is that it is a degree, it is a continuum of harm that occurs in women and men's lives. I have listened to women say, I did not feel anything after my abortion. But to me, that is a case of emotional numbness. That's different from, I have no feelings about it. It's a sense in Russia, this is described as a wooden mother. Someone who feels wooden doesn't have feelings because she's basically numbed. And that's a common symptom in PTSD, is emotional numbness to prevent unwanted re-experiencing of emotions from the abortion.
Ujú. El síndrome puede durar muchos años, lo pueden padecer mujeres que se han sometido a un aborto muchos años atrás.
The interesting thing about post-abortion trauma is that women can feel nothing for many years and suddenly start being symptomatic and feeling the pain of an abortion that occurred 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I have treated women who have indicated to me for many years they never thought about it. And then there's a trigger. Something happens. It could be a daughter's pregnancy or the first grandchild. And that mother then connects back to her pain. That is also true with men. And there is healing after an abortion. The Catholic Church has several programs that they have encouraged women and men to participate in. There, of course, is individual treatment and group therapy, Project Rachel, Rachel's Vineyards, and there are additional groups in the United States, all of which are dedicated to healing and reconciliation after an abortion.
¿Por qué el síndrome posaborto o esta problemática no es reconocida o no es abordada por la comunidad política y tampoco está reconocido por la comunidad médica, por lo menos oficialmente, aunque haya muchos estudios al respecto?
The topic of post-abortion trauma is politically incorrect, and thus in the political sphere it is collateral damage. It is unanticipated, unwanted damage, but nevertheless not acknowledged and dismissed. And that is a tragedy in and of itself. The focus is on pre-abortion, that is the choice. And the aftermath is simply what a woman or man has to deal with. And that's a tragedy. With respect to the mental health, medical communities, professional associations, in the United States, virtually all of the mental health professional associations, including the American Medical Association and the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, all have gone on record as supporting abortion, unrestricted abortion, as a woman's right. Consequently, it is a real challenge for these organizations to support a woman's unrestricted right to have an abortion and yet acknowledge that an abortion can injure women in some ways. This was also true with respect to physical health problems like breast cancer, premature birth, alcoholism, variables, illnesses that have been associated with abortion. That there's good science there, but all of this is dismissed to protect the right, but not the aftermath. So women may choose to have an abortion, but they may not choose to deal with the aftermath. They simply have to.
Hay un movimiento interesante de la opinión pública en Estados Unidos con respecto a este tema. ¿Usted piensa o vislumbra de que las cosas van a cambiar, que como se ha dicho, esta puede ser la generación pro vida que devuelva los derechos, el derecho a la vida a la gente en Estados Unidos?
Yes, I believe that change is occurring. In fact, it is occurring right now. In the present political administration, there's a tremendous effort to restrict abortion rights. And that is because in the United States, we've had so many abortions. And I think when families are impacted by abortion, and they know a sister or a daughter or a grandchild who's had an abortion, and they see the outcome, I think that influences their belief that while it may be a right, it may not be a good right. It may not be a beneficial event for a woman. It may actually introduce harm. And so we see in the next generation, young people turning away from abortion, not recognizing it as a good thing, but recognizing it for what it is, that it is a Trojan horse, that it can resolve an unwanted pregnancy, but it ushers in a whole host of new problems.
Por primera vez en la Argentina hay un movimiento de esas características, un movimiento realmente masivo a favor de la vida. ¿Qué les diría usted a esas personas que defienden, que confían en la vida y que están dentro de esta corriente en torno al debate que se ha formado aquí en las últimas semanas?
Well, I think they should be encouraged. I think the voice, an alternative voice to the right of abortion, is important that it be heard. I would encourage them to continue talking, because the people that don't have a voice, that is, the unborn children who do not survive an abortion, the many women and men who are injured after an abortion, emotionally and or physically, they don't have a voice. And I think it takes a movement to make a strong and compelling case that maybe our social policy, we need to be very careful if we're going to tamper with it and change it.